وشر الأمور محدثاتها. Seasons that are connected to khurafat, just believing in Allah. But the Muslim is the one who goes through seasons, mawasim, that are connected to his religion. Now we're in the single most important season during the course of the year. So that's why today's topic has been chosen as the virtues of the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. One of the 4 sacred months in Islam is this month, Dhul-Hijjah. So the good deeds and the bad deeds during this month are not equal to the good deeds and the bad deeds that are done outside of this month. The Muslim has to be aware of the fact that this is a sacred month, just as he's going to be aware when he's in Mecca, Medina, Bayt al-Maqdis, or anywhere in those areas, because they are the Ard al-Muqaddasa. He's going to be aware of that as part of what it is to have an iman bil-ghayb. So if we're going to talk about the virtues of the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah, a lot of stuff can be said. The top of the list, what serves as the umda, or the rukn for this. Why does Dhul-Hijjah, the 10 days, have special virtues? Because of the hadith that's inside al-Bukhari, and other than inside al-Bukhari. The Prophet mentions, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ma min ayyam al-amru salihu fihinna ahabbu ilallahi min hadhihi al-ayyam. In the famous hadith that's ma'ruf, mashhur, there are no days in which people do good deeds, and those days are more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than these 10 days. The companions, when they heard that, may Allah be pleased with them, they were scholars, they were ulama, they were the pinnacle of the religion when it comes to pristine understanding, when it comes to fiqh and fahm, understanding. The companions, they set the mark. May Allah be pleased with them. And that's why they were chosen to be the companions of the Sayyid of Bani Adam. He was the best human being, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were the best atba' followers that ever followed any prophet. And their fiqh and fahm is integral to the deen. It's part of the deen. If you find that the companions, may Allah Ta'ala bless all of them, be pleased with them. If you find there was an issue that they had ikhtilaf on and in, they had 1, 2 opinions between the companions. It's not permissible for anybody else after them to come and to introduce a 3rd opinion. If it's something that they had the ability to comprehend, it is not religiously acceptable for someone now from this ummah to come with a 3rd opinion when it has already been settled or had the ikhtilaf in it, showing the tremendous position of the companions in the deen. Ala kullin, this hadith is a tremendous hadith. There are no days that the actions that the person does in them are more beloved to Allah than these 10 days. The companion said, Ya Rasulullah, what about al-jihad fi sabilillah? Outside of these 10 days, if someone performs jihad in the blessed month of Ramadan, if someone were to perform jihad in Rajab or Dhul-Qa'dah, what if they did jihad in one of those days outside of these 10 days? Surely jihad would be better. He said, no. Even the person who does jihad outside of these 10 days, the dhikr, the Quran, the birru walidain, walking to the masjid, sitting in the masjid, all of that is better than that jihad outside of this month. Except for the person who, outside of these 10 days, he went and he performed jihad with his person and his money and he didn't come back. Meaning he got the shahada, the real martyrdom in Islam. He went out to defend the religion in the month of Ramadan, he lost his life, then that effort of his is better than the 10 days and the actions of the 10 days. So the first thing we want to mention, this is important. You know, right now, normative Islam is under attack. I think I've said that each and every time I've been in this masjid the last few times. Your Islam is under attack. Attack what? Am I like trying to fearmonger the people? Make the people afraid of the boogeyman that's not really there? La wallahi. These people are trying to change normal Islam, where they want a woman to give the khutbah under the guise of women's rights. They want a person to be able to change and identify with whatever he wants to identify with and to be protected under the law and call that al-Islam. Normal Islam is under attack. And this is one of those hadith that goes to show for the imams, the khutbah, the khatibs, the imams, the shuyukh, people who are teaching and giving dawah, you changing the religion is a problem. This hadith goes to show the virtues not only of these 10 days, but the hadith goes to show the virtues of al-jihad fi sabilillah. Why and how? Because when the Prophet ﷺ said that these were the 10 days, the actions in them are better than any other actions outside these days, what was the ibadah from the ibadat that came to the mind of the companions? What about al-jihad? If someone did jihad outside of these days, you mean to tell me these 10 days are better? He said, yes. So the fact that they came to that understanding of jihad is a clear sign and indication that jihad occupies a high place in our religion. Rasulullah called it sallallahu alaihi wasallam dhurrat as-sanam al-Islam. It is the upper peak of al-Islam. Ra'sul amr al-Islam wa amuduhu as-salat wa dhurrat sanamihi al-jihad fi sabilillah. He said the head of this affair is al-Islam. The pillar of this affair is salat. And the upper peak of the matter is al-jihad. So what's the point? Because some of you may not have grasped the point. Now in 2022, you have to be careful about speaking about jihad. When you say jihad now, you have to say I'm talking about losing weight. Losing weight is jihad. Controlling my tongue is jihad. And all of that is jihad. But that's not the jihad of this hadith. And that's not the jihad of the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adhabin alim. Tu'minu billahi wa rasulihi wa tujahidun fi sabilihi bi amwalikum wa anfusikum. Dhalikum khayru lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. That's not talking about dieting. Those ayat in Surah At-Tawbah, ayatul safe in Surah At-Tawbah, that is not talking about that's not talking about the jihad of fasting. That's not talking about the jihad of wearing jilbab and niqab and gloves in the summertime. All of that is jihad, all of that. But this hadith is not talking about that. This hadith is talking about the jihad with the safe. So when the companions came to this, Ya Rasulullah, what about al-jihad? It goes to show the position of jihad. So the point here is, because of some of the actions of foolish and ignorant people from our religion, extremists from our religion, who claim they're making jihad over the last 15, 20, 25 years, the duration of the lives of some of you, you were born, you were raised, and you heard about these extremists like Boko Haram, like Al-Qaeda, like a Shabab, like these people who are extreme, where the Shabab want to go to Syria and all of this madness. As a result of those actions that we reject, they've given the non-Muslims an opportunity to put pressures on the Muslims. So we can't say jihad anymore. If you say jihad, you're a terrorist, you're extremist. So we found imams and speakers when the classic works of Islam are being taught in the masjid, like Riyadh al-Salihin, like 40 hadith of al-Imam al-Nawawi, like reading tafsir of the Quran. What are we going to do when we come across those basic hadith of jihad? We're going to jump over them? Wallahi, I saw people jump over them. And this is one of the big challenges we have today. And that's why you guys have to be careful about listening to everybody and being fanboys of any da'i or any sheikh. Let your religion be the religion where when people say the right thing in the right way, that's who we support. We don't support a person just because we're fanboys. So if he came, for an example, I'm African American. We're minorities. I'm African American, I'm a Muslim. I'm African American, I'm a minority 2 times. The people of the LGBT community are minorities. So they deny me my rights. I don't want anybody denying me my rights. I want my rights, and I don't want my color to have anything to do with that, and I don't want my religion. But that does not mean I have to hold hands with other minorities just because they're minorities, and as an imam, I can't say that. As an imam, I can't say that, because this is the type of dua that we have today, especially in America. Because they're minorities, we have to hold hands with them, and we have to march with them. We have to sing songs with them. And when I say hold hands, I mean literally hold hands and march with these people. And when they do kufr occasions, pouring water out, making dua, we a part of that? No. So we don't apologize for any aspect of our religion. There is jihad, fi sabilillah. It has its people, it has its time, it has its place, it has its ahkam, it has its adab, and we don't apologize for that. There was a time where the mujahid, the Muslim, if you're a Muslim, you want to make jihad. It's part of what it is to be a man. Like growing up in Islam, part of what it is to be a man is, one day I'm going to make jihad. One day. Now, there's a message that's not being preached. Why? Because of extremists. They were extreme. Boko Haram, Shabab of Somalia, and all those other people. We're not against jihad, nor are we against the concept that losing weight is jihad. Taking care of my mother, jihad. Taking care of my family, going out to work, every jihad. But that's not the jihad that Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking about in that Quran. That's not the jihad that the Prophet is talking about in this hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So during the time of the companions, and I find this really amazing, the companions, and we claim that we follow the salaf of this ummah, and yet the idea of, I'm going to make jihad one day, is not a part of who we are. No, it's the responsibility of the community to keep educating people the correct way. Not telling young people go do craziness, but just like we're not going to apologize for salah, we're not going to apologize for hijab, we're not going to apologize. Every time non-Muslims don't like something about our religion, we apologize for it. And we have those imams, I don't know, I think they call them compassionate imams. They understand everything. It's okay. No. We don't make takfir. You make a sin, these pronouns and all of that, you're mixed up and confused. You don't know who you are. We're going to tell you, you don't know who you are. You have to learn who you are. But we're not going to water down the religion. So this hadith is one of those hadith that show the virtues of the jihad. Where's the dalil? The understanding of the companions. Ya Rasulullah, what about jihad? In another month outside, he said, even if you make jihad, making the dhikr of Allah is better. Giving someone some water as his guest is better. All of the ibadat of al-Islam. That's one of the virtues. This hadith also shows us, ikhwani, talk about the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah, is that we have a lot to be happy about and proud about for being Muslims. There's a lot of hatred going on in al-Islam. There are a lot of people giving dawah saying, don't do, you're not good, we're not good, we're all going to hell. It's a lot of that. And although part of dawah, that's a part of it, that you have to warn people. The companions said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to warn them until they thought that they wouldn't go into the Jannah. At-Targhib. He would warn them, At-Targhib, beware, gonna get in trouble, watch it out, it's haram, don't do that. But then they said, but he used to also give us encouragement as if we thought everybody was going to go into the Jannah. We are in a ni'mah that is azim, the fact that we're Muslims. From the virtues of these days show how Allah Azza wa Jalla has honored this community, the Ummah of al-Islam. And that this religion during these days, and other than these days, has compacted for us a lot of rewards because of the nature of the 10 days. It's just up to the person to take advantage of it. Those people who lived before us, like Noah, as you know, Noah, and those other people, they were bigger than us, taller than us, stronger than us. They lived longer than us. 950 years, we catch up to them, we surpass them, because Allah gave us Laylatul Qadr, which is better than 1,000 months. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a'mar ummati ma bayna sittin wa sab'een, wa qalilu man yatajawazu dhalika. The average age span of people from my ummah is going to be 60 to 70 years old. And only a few of them, the minority, will live to be more than 70. So you gather up all of the Muslims from the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, radiyallahu anhum, all the way to the last Muslim. You gather them all together. They're going to die, for the most part, between 60 and 70. That's what he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's not a lot of time, relatively speaking, to get a lot of rewards. Well, he lived 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. He fasted 50 times, and he got Laylatul Qadr. That's 1,000 months with this, a lot of time. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, that the one who prays in Mecca, like the people are doing right now in these 10 days, because of these 10 days, praying in Mecca is 100,000 salat. We just made one prayer for Asr. They get an opportunity, one prayer, 100,000. Fard prayer, 100,000. Sunnah prayer. You don't just have to be there. Yesterday was Friday here, a special day in our religion, a season, a weekly Eid, an opportunity to get crazy, mad, insane rewards for the one who knows and the one who's not lazy and the one who wants to do it. Just not these 10 days, it's our ummah. This issue shows the fadl of Allah in this ummah. Compacted, the rewards, for sometimes the deeds are not that much. Concerning yesterday, the Prophet mentioned, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man ghassala wa ightasala wa bakkara wa abtakara wa masha wa lam yarkab wa dana min al-iman wa istama'a فكانت له بكل خطوة يخطوها أجر سنة قيامها وصيامها. Tremendous hadith. The great scholar of hadith, his name is Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah. Ibn Khuzaymah. He's up there with Al-Imam al-Bukhari and them. Sahih al-Bukhari, Muslim al-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud al-Tirmidhi, Nasai ibn Majah, the Muwatta of Al-Imam Malik, the Mustadrak of Al-Imam Al-Hakim, and the Sahih of Ibn Khuzaymah and Ibn Hibban. Ibn Khuzaymah, he said, I don't know any hadith in Islam that has more rewards than this hadith for Friday. The fadl of Allah in this ummah, compacting rewards. What does the hadith say? On Friday, any person who takes a ghusl himself, he forces his wife to take a ghusl by having relationships with her. He takes a ghusl and he forces his wife. What religion is detailed about what we can eat, what we can't eat, what we can drink, what we can't drink, what you can wear, what you can't wear, about having relationships with our families. The Quran tells us things. The Sunnah tells us things, what to do, what not to do. Wallahi, al-Islam is the truth, and from Allah, it's just the community. We don't know. Whoever takes a ghusl on Friday, causes his wife to take a ghusl, he also leaves early in order to get to the prayer. And he walks, and he doesn't ride, he walks. When he gets there, he doesn't sit in the wall and back over here. He comes as close to the imam, and he sits as close to the imam without breaking people's shoulders. And then he listens to the khutbah. Anybody who does that, for every right step he took and every left step he took, he'll get the reward. For every step of fasting for 1 year and for praying Qiyamul Layl for 1 year. We come to Jummah and we just come into Jummah with Iman. This is wajib. I have to do it. I hope the khutbah is good. I'm ready to listen to the message. Some people come like that. But some people come to the Friday khutbah as an opportunity. Golden opportunity. That's what the Salaf was on. They would pray Salatul Fajr. After Fajr, the sun would come up. The individual would stay there. Whether he's in Mecca or not, he's in Medina. He prays 2 rakats. After the sun comes up, he gets the reward of performing Umrah. Tam. Something small, compacted every day. The reward, just sitting there. It takes a little bit to sit after Fajr till the sun comes up. But in some of these masajid, especially the Ahnaf, the Hanafi masjids, they pray Fajr close to the ghilis when the sun comes up. The man prays with them. He doesn't have to wait long. For an example, he doesn't have to wait long. You get the reward every day. Get any reward of Umrah. So the one, like the companion, they would pray, sun comes up, they would go home. Within an hour, they're coming back to the masjid, racing each other. And once they got to the masjid, he prayed 2 rak'ah, 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 to what was no limit until the Prophet came out, and then that's when they stopped. Because each of those 2 rak'at, they lifted up the prayers that he made that are wajib, that he didn't make it, and so forth and so on. So the point here is, the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah show us the virtues of Allah in this ummah, and that we have the opportunity to have these rewards for little action. For an example, the 9th, inshallah, of Dhul-Hijjah, which some scholars say is the best day of the whole year, and that is the day of Arafah. The day of Arafah. Allah Ta'ala mentioned Arafah in a number of ayat of the Quran. From them, the statement of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدُهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَى شَهِدْنَا أَن تَقُولُوا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِنَّا كُنَّا عَنْ هَذَا غَافِلِينَ. You people who believe in Allah and you were not there, do you don't remember, do you not recall, will you not reflect on the fact that Allah took from Adam all of Adam's children and took them from his loins, from his stomach and all this area down there, and Allah took all of his children out? Rasulullah said in what was collected by the Imam At-Tirmidhi, Allah Azza wa Jal took out all of Adam's children, and it happened multiple times. This is one of the many times. He took them out from Adam's loins and spread them all out on the mountain of Nu'man, which is the mountain of Arafat. And he caused all of them to bear witness to La ilaha illallah. He said to them, am I not your Lord? Each one of them say, yes, yes, so that you won't come Yawm al-Qiyamah and say you didn't know about this. You didn't know about this Tawheed, and you were born and created on the fitrah. So you can't come after this and say, I didn't know. Because there are seeds inside of you that naturally make you look up to the sky and say, La ilaha illallah. So this day of Arafat, whoever fasts the day, Allah Azza wa Jalla will forgive him for his sins before a year, the sins after. That's compact. He's been fasting for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. You multiply that times 2 just for Arafat, and he got all those deeds forgiven in the front, those deeds forgiven in the back. So this is from the virtues of these 10 days. This is really important. These 10 days are the best days in Islam. The ulama of Islam had ikhtilaf. Seems like the most important issue, Allahu A'lam, is the fact that these are the only 10 days during the course of your life. In the year, all of the 5 arkan of Islam are being practiced. In Ramadan, all of the 5 arkan of Islam are not being practiced. Only 4 are. In the month of Muharram, all of the 5 arkan are not being practiced. On the strength of Hajj, the 5th pillar is in these days, then these are the best days because people obviously are making the Shahadatain every day. People are praying every day. People are giving zakat in the month of Hajj, Dhul-Hijjah. It is wrong. We mentioned this many times here. Some people think that the zakat is just to be given in Ramadan. I became a Muslim in the month of Rajab. Why should I wait until Ramadan? For an example, I actually became a Muslim in Rajab. So my zakat is due, mine is due in Ramadan because I became a Muslim in Ramadan. But the person, he became a Muslim in other than Ramadan. Scholars say that people who want to give their money in Ramadan is because of the virtue of the month. You clean your money in the virtues of that month. But someone the zakat is that you kept the money for a whole year. It doesn't have to be Ramadan. So as a result of this, these are the days that are prolific in al-Islam. The afdali, and these days are better than any of the days of the whole calendar. And as a result of that, ikhwani, we should approach it accordingly. When Ramadan comes, all of us are pumped up about Ramadan, and it definitely helps that you're fasting, because when you fast, naturally it puts an awareness inside of the person's mind, naturally. But if Ramadan has Laylatul Qadr, and Ramadan is the fourth pillar of al-Islam, and we get pumped up and excited about it, and we don't get pumped up excited about these days, 10 days, then there's something wrong. Because these days are better than the days of Ramadan. They're better than the days of Ramadan, to the point even if a person made jihad, real jihad, not fitna and fasad, real jihad, and he didn't get shahad in the month of Ramadan, reading the Quran in this month is better in these 10 days. Sitting and making dhikr in these 10 days are better. So there are some wadha'if that we have to keep ourselves engaged with, doing these 10 days and taking advantage of them, because it's not easy, especially if you're not around people who are taking them seriously. In our homes, we may not have created that seriousness, that these are the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. From what is permissible, obviously is, you can fast all of these days. If you want to fast the first day all the way through, then that's permissible. Keeping in mind that there is ikhtilaf between the scholars of Islam. Should you fast on Saturday or should you not fast on Saturday? And that which is fard. It's an issue of ikhtilaf. So if you don't see that hadith as being authentic or you have an explanation for it, you can fast all those days. If you don't see that hadith as being authentic, then don't fast that day. Fast every day other than that day, unless you're performing the Hajj, because those people, they don't fast on the day of Arafat. But if the individual just wanted to fast on the day of Arafat, inshallah, fabihi kifaya. It's enough. But that's from what we should do. But if you are young, unmarried, you need rewards, I would encourage you, fast as much as you possibly can. I forgot to mention even before that, ikhwani, because we're living in a tough time right now. From the wadha'if of these days is clearly the issue of the tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's the most important issue of what the days are about. These days are about impacting on the psyche of people, why we were created, what we're put here for. I don't know anyone in Birmingham. I don't know anyone from Leeds this year. I don't know anyone in person, for someone personally who's making Hajj this year. I don't know. But if it wasn't for these extraordinary circumstances with what has happened and the way they did what they did with the curveball about Hajj, every year we're hearing about people who we know going to perform Hajj over there in the middle of the desert in Muzdalifah and Mina and Arafat. Why? Why people going over there? People going over there for the issue of the Tawheed of Allah. Or that's what the case is supposed to be. That's the most important wadhifa during these days. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجَنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. That's what these days are about. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنْ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ السَّبِيلَ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. Whoever disbelieves, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah has the right that He created you, and He made it wajib upon you, to go and make Hajj, to go and make Umrah, that you visit His house when you get the money. And anyone who disbelieves, he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to make it his business. He doesn't think it's important. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla is ghani. Doesn't need the people. So this is from the wadha'if. As we mentioned about the ayat, Allah took from the loins of Adam, his children, at Nu'man, Arafat, and caused them to bear witness on themselves concerning Allah as our Lord, that no one deserves to be worshipped except Him and Him alone. In addition to that, and unfortunately, the ummah of Tawheed right now, our Tawheed is being compromised on every level. You know when I said at the beginning, I'm not trying to make fear mongering. No. Normative Islam is under attack. I never thought that I would hear in my wildest dreams that someone would mention if you call on someone who's dead. A dead man is in the grave. I always knew that that's haram, me personally. I always couldn't get my head around how do Muslims worship and make dua to the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or this sheikh or that sheikh or this dead person or that. I could never get my head around it. But I never thought I would see a day in which in 2022 people were saying, all right, it's haram to make dua to someone who's dead in the grave, but if you do that, you're not committing shirk. What are you talking about? And then people support that? The Islam of practicing people is under threat. As it relates to Tawheed, what we think, what we say. There are practicing people who fear human beings more than they fear Allah. He's the Imam. He fears what's going to happen to him from the people. So he changes what he knows is the religion. He takes a position for or against things for the group. What people think, for an example. That's with practicing people. He's giving da'wah Allah. She's existing so people can look and you can show off. That's everybody here. No one escapes that. Someone comes to say from the wadha'if, what you should do in this day, at the top of the list, have a tawheed. Pay attention to tawheed. Don't make shirk with Allah. Some of us think about others. No. That is reflective of all of us. The Prophet told those awliya, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, akhwafu ma khafu alaykum. The thing that I'm most fearful for you people, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and they're from the awliya by the Lord of Kaab. Thing that I most fear for you is the minor shirk. Those companions, as I mentioned, Rasulullah would say something, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The best days, Allah loves the deeds of these 10 days. They just didn't leave it like that. What about jihad? They always wanted to know more. What about jihad in other than these days? He told them in this hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the thing that I fear for you the most is from the minor shirk. They said, what is that? What is the minor shirk? He said, showing off. So if he was fearful of that, for those awliya, if one of us is reminded of a shirk, whether it's akbar or asghar, whatever it is, for a person's mind to go to someone else is a problem. From the wadha'if, ikhwani, and this is really important, is another issue. Islam is under attack. And that is, we learned to slaughter during these days. And from the ibadat of al-Islam, when you come to Europe, when you live in America, they're one of the ibadas that get trampled upon, because it's not the system here, is the ibadah of the Udhiyah and slaughtering, which is a big issue in our religion. To slaughter lillah. But the non-Muslims come, just like jihad, just like how they look at women, just as they look at LBGT, these different issues, just as they look at a person in his country defending himself, his independence, his country, his sovereignty, the way they look at it. They say, you people are slaughtering animals, and this is animal cruelty. The day will come where the pressure will be put on the Muslims, you won't be able to slaughter as it is in parts of America. You won't be able to slaughter. The only udhiyah you gave during this month is sending the money away outside of America. That's it, because it's against the law. But in our religion still, we won't allow that to be a deterrent. I'm not encouraging anybody to do something that's going to get him in trouble. But al-Islam, normal Islam, from where you come from, other than you reverts, slaughtering is part of who we are, where we come from. Now the situation is some of you guys don't know how to take off the fur of the animal. Do I say that that's haram? I say that's not haram. But I say that is a sign and an indication of losing one's culture. I don't blame you for that. We're living in the UK. We're living in America. We're not walking around cutting the skin and fur off of animals and then dyeing it and making it into a muslaya. I'm not blaming you for that, but it's food for thought. We come to these countries, there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay. And one of the prices that you pay is losing your identity. the child losing his language, the child losing his religion, the child losing his adat and his taqaleed, things that identify who you are. And that's why I think it is one of the awjab al-wajibat, one of the most important wajibs upon the mother and the father is that he has to make jihad. And when we talk about jihad in this way, as we mentioned earlier, we're not talking about the jihad that your mind should go to in this hadith and the ayat of the Quran. But the parents have to make a jihad to educate the child, protect the child. Don't let him go astray. Don't let him get crazy ideas. Let him lose who he is, his religion. That's a responsibility. So the Prophet mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for those of you who didn't know, concerning these 10 days. It's a season. إذا دخل العشر وأراد أحدكم أن يضحي فلا يمس من بشره وشعره شيئا. If the first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah come, the first 10 days, Thursday, and one of you wants to slaughter, the pilgrims are going to slaughter at Hajj. And when they slaughter, we're also going to slaughter. And it's going to be the Eid for us. And it's going to be the days of At-Tashriq, the days of eating and drinking. Whereas for them, they'll be doing different things there in Mecca. So he said, if people want to slaughter, you're not performing Hajj, and it's from the best ibadat in Islam, then don't take from your nails and don't take from your hair anything until that day of the Eid. And the day you actually want to slaughter, once you slaughter, then you can do that type of grooming. So if you've never slaughtered before, as I mentioned, almost impossible to do it here, very difficult. But some of you come from countries where your parents, your relatives, they're in need of the udhiyah. There should be an annual issue every year. We should be breaking off some of our people who come from some of these poor countries with the udhiyah, because the meat is a part of the real Eid in the Muslim world. Here, it's not the case. Just have some food at the Eid, no problem. But in the Muslim world in Africa, where we come from, Pakistan, Afghanistan, when you slaughter, if there's no lahm, it's not like a real Eid. So you encourage, put your money together, 50 pounds, 75 pounds, 2, 3, 4 of you, and do the udhiyah for your family. It's from the most important wadha'if of this day. The good deed during these days are more beloved to Allah than outside of these days. Slaughtering from the besties in Islam, the besties. And to do it in these days is also compounded with that. So if you do it, give it to your relatives, inshallah, you get the double reward. From the wadha'if is the dhikr of Allah. From what should be done. The way of the Salaf, what the companions were upon, increased teaching, increased da'wah ilallah, increased learning. Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with both of them, used to go to the marketplace and make the dhikr of Allah with the sole purpose of just encouraging the people. So on the day of the Eid, you can barely find a musalla or a masjid where the people are saying Allahu Akbar, and they make it takbir and the dhikr in a robust way. For the time that I've been a Muslim, from 86 until today, every single group of Muslims that I've ever prayed the salat with the exception of Mecca and Medina, but in the West, in the UK, in America, whether you're out in the musalla, whether you're in your masjid, for the most part, the dhikr is dead. And the problem with that is we kill the sunnah. We're not following what the companions and what the Prophet brought in that issue. We see that as, tired. I was fasting 29 days or whatever. But again, our kids grow up, and this is the type of Eid that they see, that they equate Eid with gifts and nice clothes. And that's part of it. It's part of it. But more important than that, the Eid is about the Tawheed of Allah. these days, Ramadan, the Eid, the Udhiyah. This is about the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. Why Allah created you. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. That's what these days are about. At the Hajj itself, the person who performs the Hajj, and this is another thing, you find it amazing, everything about Hajj, whether you're performing it or you're not performing it, but just knowing about it, it's all about the legislation of the oneness of Allah. The person is about to perform his Umrah, he's going to do his Hajj. He says, oh Allah, here I am. I'm about to perform Hajj or Umrah for you. It's not to show off. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Here I am, oh my Lord, I'm here for you. Everything about every step of that thing is about the Tawheed of Allah. Everything about every step has nothing to do with anything other than the worship of Allah. Every step, just like Salat. Every step. And then our community comes and we let these things slip away. The mubani of at-tawheed, what it means, what are the madlulat of it, and so forth and so on. And as a result of that, connected to that is the dhikr. The dhikr. Then when Christmas time comes in the schools that our kids go to, they put more emphasis on Christmas. Not because they believe in Christmas, but it's an opportunity for the nafs to have a party. They don't believe in that nonsense. They don't believe in gifts. They don't believe in birthdays. It's equating and connecting gifts, good time. That's Bani Adam. So we kill the spirit of the Eidain, and as a result of that, we give life to the kufr and the shirk and the fisk and the fahisha of the ayad of the non-Muslims. So back to the issue. From the wadha'if, or the mas'uliyah that we have, the responsibility of these days, from the best deeds every day, is this issue of the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Before salah, in salah, after salah. There's another issue we have to mention, almost slipped my mind. Clearly in the authentic hadith, I told you about 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi. If we want to avoid talking about al-jihad, because non-Muslims will get upset with us, we're not going to stop talking about it. We're going to talk about it at the proper time and place and in the proper way. Like now, we don't apologize for it, about it. It's our religion. So we're going to stop mentioning these hadith, giving tafsir of the ayat. No. One of those tremendous hadith from the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi connected to this issue is that Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the hadith al-Qudsi that the slave doesn't do any action that is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla than what is fard. When a person does what is fard, Allah loves that. So in these 10 days, any action, whether it's from the fard kifaya, fardul ayn, whether it's from fard of the nawafil, all of the deeds during these 10 days, Allah loves them. But clearly, if a person is going to neglect what is fard to do with is sunnah, that's a problem. So when we talk about the wadha'if and the mas'uliyah of the slave these days, then clearly he has to take care of the wajib things first. He has to take care of, as we mentioned, tawheed of Allah. She has to wear hijab. Person has to pray. You have to do those things. Can't be going to something that is the sunnah and you didn't take care of that which is an obligation. So the dhikr of Allah, ikhwani, is from those issues. What time is it? What time is it?
It's 700.
7? From what we want to mention, my man, what's the secret to the kursi? There's not no Sufi stuff, right? Rasulullah is sitting next to us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ummah of Tawheed came into al-Islam, and I mean no joke by this. This is sad. No joke by this. I met the Muslims, and they used to have a chair here and a chair there. And whenever that sheikh used to talk, they would bring the chair by him. And because I would see the empty chairs all the time, I would ask them who the chair was the chair about. They told me that that's the chair that Prophet Muhammad comes down to listen to the khutbah. I was blown away. I had no background about issues like that, but I doubted that stuff. And had I not continued on the way of Islam, that could have been a nuqta or point to apostate. You people believe in that hocus pocus stuff? Nobody believes in that. That's like believing some of the nonsense as non-Muslims. The barber that you go to, if he cuts your hair, he has a magic thing. That's why he's so good. Who believes in that? It's his skills. It's not the magic makina. It's not the special sauce or cream that he used. So the green chair was Khidr. He came down. And the white chair was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And those people were making Umrah and Hajj. And these 10 days will come and go. These 10 days are here, and there are people who curse the companions. There are people, this is the state of our community. So I'm not here, as I told you in the very beginning, to be sour grapes and to say we're on the hellfire, but I am here to say we have to take care of these opportunities. We have to take care of these opportunities. From the great opportunities during these days is as-sadaqah. I don't know if you guys are aware, but right now, with all of the drama that's going on with our ummah, we have a lot of problems. We have the usual suspects. We have Kashmir. We have Iraq, the usual suspects, Palestine, usual suspects. But the Muslims of Bangladesh, for an example, people are aware of the level of the kawarith that they are dealing with. They are dealing with some serious disasters, drowning. They have that all the time. I'm not happy about that. That's our ummah, but it is a fact. The Bangladeshi community has to look at itself and say, hey, we have a lot of shit going on in our country. I don't say that to say they get what they deserve. That would be crazy to talk like that. No rahmah. That's not intelligent. It's no hikmah. But no musibah issue except from what your hands put forth. And if you were to see Bangladesh from the many Muslim countries, there is shirkun akbar on a daily basis. And that's why we can't afford for imams to come and speak in English, who the people respect them, and the people like overboard with them. And then they say, this is not shirk when you do that, and this is not shirk. No. Normative Islam is under attack. Normative Islam. So I would like to encourage you, brothers, inshallah azza wa jal, to give sadaqah to the Bangladeshis. Don't be bakhil. Don't be bakhil. Be an individual like the Salaf, Abu Bakr, and other than them. Give to the masjid. But my personal interest right now during these days, after seeing what's going on with them, if you go and you looked and you researched it, I would believe that your heart would be affected by what's going on with our brothers in Bangladesh. These are a few of the things we wanted to mention to you guys and remind you of. May Allah help you all to take advantage of these days, bi-idhnillah azza wa jal, to do all of the good deeds from what is wajib and what is from the nawafil. And from that, again, from the top affairs is birrul walidain, taking care of your parents and being diligent and responsible, and being responsible to apologize to them for what you haven't been doing in the way of at-ta'ah. And Allah is a'la and a'la.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for that very inspirational lecture. As we always do, the reason why the chair came, so that we can answer questions in a very ordinary fashion, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So if anyone has any questions, please put your hand up and give me the honor to pick your question, inshaAllah ta'ala. So it doesn't become chaotic, bi'idhnillah. Likewise, if the sisters have a question, try to put it forward, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, and we'll get it answered by the Shaykh. Tfaddal, Shaykh Noor.
Shaykh Noor, Nawwar Allah Ayamahu, he mentioned concerning on the day of the Eid, when we make the takbir, is it permissible for someone to take the microphone to encourage the people to make takbir after them and to keep it going and make it robust? Yeah, a few issues very quickly. And trying to hold on to the sunnah, you have to be careful of being too rough and too tough and making big deals out of issues that don't deserve that. Like this issue of takbir. We were young, we were growing up, and we used to always be like, you can't make the Jamaat takbir, don't do it. We'd be rough and stuff like that. You shouldn't be like that. As it relates to takbir, the Prophet ﷺ didn't leave for us any seerah of the takbir. Say this, say that, and this is what you must say. It's open. So you look at what the companions